All right, Nick, let's talk about the Chicago Bears fresh off of a big time win, much needed win for the Chicago Bears. The Bears are going to continue that momentum, and they've made a really smart move coming into this week's game in London. I think it's a move that's going to help them win. I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Chicago Bears made a very interesting move heading into this week's game in London. London games are always hit or miss. I think teams either show up or don't, but the Bears are making sure they're taking all precautions that they do show up. Let's get into the tweet and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from Peggy Kaczynski. It says the Chicago Bears GM polls told at ESPN 1000 pregame show the London trip is starting Monday night or tonight as we filmed this video. The day after the Panthers game is to acclimate to the time zone and also a road trip camp feel for the team. So essentially, the Bears are leaving on Monday and they expect to be in London as early as Tuesday and make this a week-long event. They're going to be there for as long as possible to acclimate for as long as possible. I think this is a really, really good move by the Bears. Nick, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one, but before we get to you, Nick, Bears fans, in the comment section below, it's going to be a big game versus Jaguars in London, kind of like their home turf. They're one of the teams that play in London the most out of anybody. So let us know, what are your thoughts on the game? Do you think this extra rest has the team coming out firing? Do you think it's still going to be flat like the game last week was? Let us know what your thoughts on the final score of this one are in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this strategy by the Bears?
Yeah, I think it's an incredibly smart move, and I give them a lot of credit for doing it because the temptation, of course, is to delay just an ugly travel schedule as long as possible. Give your players as much rest, give them as much opportunities to get whatever rehab they need stateside before they go overseas. That's kind of the easy way through it. But I think the Bears are taking a smart approach here for two reasons. Number one, this is a football team, as well as they played through 5 games being above 500, being very competitive. They have struggled in the first quarter. They have 10 total points in the first quarter. That's fourth worst in the entire National Football League with first quarter scoring, right? That is not where you need to be, especially with an offense this talented. Caleb Williams getting better and better, the weapons they have. Now, look, I don't blame that on the players. To me, that's coaching, right? One of my big things I really believe is that the first quarter and third quarter belong to the coaches. The second and fourth quarters belong to the players. But if you're going to have the players start strong, because you can't change the coaching staff mid-season, they are who they are. You got to put them in the best position they can to, if I may, overcome some coaching deficiencies that are happening in the first quarter. And one of the ways you can do that is to get them really acclimated to their environment. They don't see this London trip as much as possible as just a crazy anomaly game, which it obviously is. Try and give it some sort of sense of normalcy. Get there earlier. Get everyone adjusted to the time zone. Get everyone on the same page. Hey, here's the team hotel. Hey, here's where we're staying. Here's where the meeting rooms, practice field. Get used to it as soon as possible. Make it feel as much as you possibly can like a normal NFL week. So that way when the game starts, they're ready to go, and so that way they can try and overcome some of those coaching issues in the first quarter. Because this is a Jacksonville Jaguars team. While their record is certainly poor, they played really well, certainly offensively, I will say, last week against the Indianapolis Colts, and they are 100% used to this overseas environment. They beat some good teams, namely they really manhandled the Buffalo Bills last year in London. Jacksonville has the ability, because they're so used to this, because their team, coaching staff, entire administration is used to the environment in London. They're going to be prepared. They're going to show up and start strong. The Bears, Ryan Poles, recognize that and say, we got to counteract that as best as we can. Get our guys there, get them there early, get them used to it, so that way we avoid falling into an early first quarter hole.
Yeah, Nick, and I think the traveling, the getting there early, some people will discount that and be like, you just gotta show up, you just gotta play. And that's really not true because the data doesn't support that. And if you look, there's now been 36 regular season games in London. 19 of those times, the teams have arrived on at different days. Rather, they've arrived, one has arrived earlier than the other. And of those 19 times, 12 times the team that arrived earlier won those games. So there's a pretty good amount of data saying that if you arrive earlier, it is an advantage to your team. And I would say the other thing that we have noticed in these London games, especially I have noticed in these London games, is the defense travel. defense is what shows up on the field in London. Or if you want to go the opposite way, the offense doesn't travel as well. So there's two reasons for that. One, either you're tired, you're not as alert, there's not as much, communication, everybody's not on the same page just because different environment, different time zones, all of that stuff. Or that just, the defense is giving it taking advantage of that. So I think that is something that plays a factor. Now the Bears, what are they doing? They're taking control of that situation as well. They're going to try to get there as early as they possibly could have got there. I don't think they could have left any earlier unless they decided to fly there after the game, but that would have been a little bit unreasonable. Everyone's got to get treatment and whatnot. So they get there as early as possible to give their offense the best handle on this environment, to get them as ready and as alert and on pace as possible, because also the Bears defense, couple of key starters, namely Jaquan Brisker, isn't going to be there for this game. So I think that this is key. The Bears giving their defense all the advantages they need by letting their offense warm up, get ready to this environment, and get ready to come out slinging against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who aren't leaving until Thursday. So once again, they will have the advantage here over Jacksonville.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point about the offense, because one of the sort of under the radar storylines over the last 2 weeks in the National Football League is that this Bears offense, running and throwing, is humming on all cylinders. The one thing that can interrupt this incredible run they're on is just a disruption in rhythm. Now, usually how that happens during the season is injuries, right? You have some key injuries and your rhythm falls apart. What could have happened for the Bears here is that they follow a late travel approach to London. It throws off their timing. They go into this game jet lagged. They're feeling a little uncomfortable in the environment, and the rhythm just goes away. Like you said, it's really hard. Teams that travel late especially struggle traveling their offense. The Bears, Ryan Poles understands that and says, we're playing at a very high level offensively. We need to make sure we don't lose that rhythm. We need to get in London as soon as possible. Smart move by the Bears. I think it will pay huge dividends come Sunday.